Welcome to the Nick and Matt Show. Bringing the player interviews you want to hear and the hot topics you want to discuss. Streaming live on the Foundation Podcast YouTube channel, here's Nick and Matt.
Your performance during the final round of the World Championships was nearly good enough, and I don't have to tell you, to walk away with your 6th world title. Can you walk us through your perspective on how the final hole played out from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I could walk you through the final round or the final hole. You want to go final hole first?
If you give it all to us. How about that?
All right. I'll go. So, yeah, I'll go back because we were battling the whole time. I know I built up a little lead before the par 5, hole 9. Made a really big mistake on my drive there, and then it was a real ball game heading into the back 9. You know, I only had a 1-stroke lead at that point, but I felt like the momentum really shifted on hole 13 when I hit that big putt. You know, James had laid up right in front of me. I hit that like 45, 50 footer on the elevated basket with the OB right behind it. That's kind of where I felt like, all right, if I want to win this tournament, this is the one I need to make right here, and just fully committed and knock that one down. And then it was just who's going to make the next mistake. And James and I ended up birding 14, 15, 16, 17. And then we got to the last hole, and I threw my drive pretty much perfect. I think the only other spot I'd like to be is where Calvin was, but kept it in bounds. And James he didn't throw a good drive. He had that extremely far right, hit the tree and kicked back almost into the water. And if he kicked into the water, then it was game over, because the best he could have done was a par, because the drop zone's a little bit too far for a throw in. Well, no, I think he would have to take it from the water. I'm not sure how the ruling is there. And then he didn't throw a great upshot from there. So as soon as I saw where his upshot was, I thought it was pretty much over. I said, all I got to do is get up past the mandatory drop zone, and then it was just a little pitch up with my zone from there, and I'd be the 2021 world champion. But, you know, it's kind of one of those things to where I've just looked back at it so many different times to where I think if James threw a great drive and he was looking at a birdie, I would have easily made the choice to go for it. And that would have been, you know, if I wouldn't have converted the shot, then I would have lost, to where it feels more like James kind of took it. You know, he threw the drive that wasn't that great. He threw the upshot that wasn't that great. And then he just threw the greatest shot that's ever happened in disc golf. So, you know, the way that I look at it is kind of like he just played the strategy perfectly. He kind of took away me even thinking about going for it with the 2 shots prior to that. So it's just, I don't know. I think there's lessons to be learned too for myself, because I kind of let that carry over into the playoff, to where I should have just realized, like, I'm still in the driver's seat. I've still been making all the right shots. Even after he put his shot on the island, I still should have been able to convert that, but just gave it a little too much.
Yeah. So I just want to follow it up by saying, because I thought I heard you say this in your response here. Had James outdrove you on hole 18's tee, so meaning like you would have been throwing first. Would you have went for it?
Even if he threw, like, let's say his drive wasn't better than mine, but his upshot was only 100 feet away. Like, even if he threw it within, you know, 150 feet, I would have felt like I still would have had to go for it, because that's very makeable, very, very makeable. I think the 2 shots he threw, I feel like that's the only way I lay up in that situation and not be guaranteed the win. You know, to where if he lays it, like he throws that shot and then he goes for it from there and goes out of bounds, then I'm guaranteed layup. You know, any other situation, I think this is the only way it plays out, to where he wins in that moment and throws it in. Because I don't know. I don't know any others. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so what you're saying, and just to be clear again, if you were the first one to throw your shot, meaning after the drives, you would have went for it. Yeah, okay.
Guaranteed. Yeah, I would have to.
Right. Yeah.
So even if his layup was better, even if his layup like made it past the mandatory to where he had less than 200 feet of any sort, I felt like I would have had to go for it still, because he can throw it in, you know. So I just felt like he still had to throw an Anheuser around the mandatory. He still had to shape it really well. But yeah, that hole kind of set up for that. I didn't love the hole to begin with, but I think it kind of set up for this kind of finish.
I saw a meme online, and it was Doctor Strange talking to Iron Man in Avengers Infinity War, when Doctor Strange looks into the future and he sees, the billions of different scenarios, and then what is the one scenario that wins? And someone posted a meme, and it was, I think that's exactly what you're talking about, is that is literally the one scenario that James Conrad hits that shot to where if his drive was picture perfect, he he throws before you on his upshot, he gets to the green, then you go for it, and you were already two for two on that hole.
Yeah.
So like you had thrown that upshot well. You had a good drive. You had a great, I'm assuming you went forehand
Yep.
on that hole. And I think the way it played out, that was the one scenario where it does play out like that, which is wild.
Yeah, I mean, he took away my only chance of trying to hold on to the tournament, because he was, his drive was so, so poor after hitting that tree, and then the upshot to where I didn't even have to think about going for it because I didn't think that throwing that in was possible.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, it's wild how it played out. But it was incredible shot, and I'm happy for James. He had a lot to prove this year, especially with his manufacturer switch and all that stuff, to where I actually sent him a message and looked back at some messages that I sent him, because I did switch manufacturers in 2019 and he did in 2020, or 2021, 20, I don't know, whatever the years we're in.
Yeah.
But I just sent him a message and just said, like, you got to forget everything you've ever learned before, because it's only going to hurt you. And it kind of, he kind of was just thankful for that. And I don't know if it played any part in this event, but just to know that he was able to do this first year was pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm. So James throws that shot, it goes in, and then in your head, okay, we're going to a playoff. Because at this point, are there any thoughts that you're running that after your second shot, are you running your upshot at all?
Well, I put my first layup pretty much right where I wanted, to a spot where I knew I'm just going to hyzer my zone right up there and have at most 20 feet. So I didn't have any doubt that shot wasn't going to happen, or it wasn't going to work.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, definitely the fun thought of like, wow, I could follow that up and throw it in myself. But I knew a par would keep me in it, to where if I tried to throw it in and did something stupid, it wouldn't have looked too good. So just went with the smart play and put it under the basket and took the par and went to the playoff. It's kind of, I wasn't thrilled that it went straight to an island hole, because I kind of was going to take away any drama and any safety. It was kind of just like, all right, if someone misses it, it's over.
So that's kind of where I was just about to get at. There were two different questions that I had. Your 2014 World Championships, when you went into a playoff against Ricky, did you guys start on hole 1? How did that work?
Yeah, well, 18 ended right next to 1, so we went and started on hole 1, and then we were just going to play the whole course through until we had a winner.
So I'm curious what people in the chat, or even people listening to this post, what would you guys rather, go to an island hole like they did at the World Championships, or back in 2014 they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and just play the course until it's over?
Well, even I think USDGC, we started on 18, then went 1, 17, 18, 1, 17 until there was a winner.
Yeah.
So it started with a par 4.
Okay. While people are getting back on that, they're going to give their answers there. Before we move right into that playoff conversation, because that's a whole topic as well. Some of us have seen the camera reaction. Jomez had a few, live coverage had a little bit. Can you tell us, in that moment when the disc hit the chains, like, was there confusion? Was there like awestruck? What were your immediate feelings when you saw that disc go in? Disbelief? Like, how would you describe it?
Well, I didn't actually see it really go in. Like, you couldn't hear the chains or anything because people were screaming before it was even in, like go in and stuff like that. So from where I was, I didn't actually see it go in because he was still a little bit around the corner. And when I heard the screams, I looked over to James and his arms were up, and I was like, there's no way that just went in. Like, I knew there was a chance, because he threw it high enough, but I thought he actually threw it way long. And he just, it was incredible to see. It sucks that I was the one that lost to it, but I think better for the sport, you know, seeing how much it's especially blown up on social media. But yeah, it was an incredible shot, and I was just, you know, my jaw dropped like everyone else's.
Yeah. And so as follow up, you actually just led right into this question. You said it sucks to be on the losing end of it. Some are calling this one of the most clutch moments across, and they're not even limiting it. Some people to all they're saying all sports, not even limiting to just disc golf. It depends on how you classify the moment and the pressure, obviously. You yourself have said in your Instagram post, greatest shot in disc golf history. Can you tell me how does it feel losing to a shot or losing to a shot like this? Meaning, like, does it feel different? As you said a minute ago, it was kind of taken away as opposed to you losing it. Like, what's the difference in the feels from all of your losses?
Well, I know I didn't lose to the shot. You know, I lost in the playoff, but that was, you know, it was something that I felt like I'm winning this tournament, especially after his 2 shots before that one, you know, went in. So, yeah, I don't think I lost to the shot, but it was just, I mean, it's history in disc golf, and yeah, it could be one of the greatest sports or the greatest moment in sports history. You know, given the circumstances where it was at, what happened prior to that. You know, we birdied 4 or 5 in a row before that, and just him and I back and forth. And yeah, it was a big shot, and it was. Did you ask how like the losing part?
Generally, it was just like, yeah, I did say to that shot you lost, but I guess generally. The whole feeling surrounding this, you walked away from the day knowing that you didn't win.
Yeah.
Is it a different feeling than you've experienced before because of how it went down?
Well, yeah, this one definitely hurt the most out of any of them, because I did feel like, you know, I was less than 200 feet away from winning the world championship. And I mean, if you even look at after my drive, I was in the perfect position to win, but how it went down, I wasn't even given a chance to try to win it. You know, he threw his bad second shot to where I'm like, all right, I just won. He's got to throw around this mandatory tree and carry it all the way over, and we're at elevation, so turnover is not an easy shot. Like that's probably the hardest shot to throw out there, is that big turnover, because every disc you have wants to flex out so much faster. So it was yeah, I just didn't feel like I had an opportunity to win it after I'd laid up, to where normally I feel like, you know, he throws a better upshot, he throws a better drive, I still have a chance to win it and solidify it and get up and down for a birdie. But this one, I mean, I'm pretty much helpless. Like, I couldn't do anything else.